Here's what you need to know before you dive into B5. The commutative property of addition states that when adding numbers, it doesn't matter what order they're in from left to right. For example, a plus b is the same as b plus a. This rule applies to multiplication as well. A times b is the same as b times a. Note that this rule does not apply for subtraction or division where order actually matters. Similarly, the associative property of addition states that when adding numbers, it doesn't matter how we group them with parentheses, the answer will be the same regardless. So if we add a plus b first, then add c, this will give the same answer as adding b plus c, then adding a. The associative property of multiplication is essentially the same thing. If we're multiplying 3 or more numbers, the order in which we multiply through the use of parentheses doesn't matter. It will give the same answer. Once again, note that this is not true for subtraction or division where the order actually does matter. Next, we have the identity property of addition, which essentially states that if you add 0 to any number, it will stay the same. As for the identity property of multiplication, it states that if you multiply any number by 1, it will stay the same. The 0 property simply states that if you multiply any number by 0, it will equal 0. Lastly, the distributive property tells us how we can multiply a number by an addition or subtraction expression that's inside parentheses. It shows that we have to separately multiply the outside number by each term inside the parentheses. Here's another way of showing the distributive property, but without using any multiplication symbols, which may make it easier to visualize. Let's take a look at some examples. Which property of addition is shown? Well, since we have the same variables on both sides of the equal sign and they're all being added, the only difference is the way that they're grouped with parentheses, and those should be equal according to the associative property of addition. Next, which property of multiplication is shown? Well, since we have addition inside of the parentheses and we're multiplying the entire parentheses by r, we need to distribute the r to both the p and the q, so this must be the distributive property. Next, which equation shows the 0 property of multiplication? Well, the first option shows a number times 0 equals 0, so it's that one. Next, how can you support this channel to continue making videos? Well, that's pretty easy, you just need to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Next, which equation shows the commutative property of addition? Well, our answer should have the same variables all being added on both the left and the right side of the equation, just arranged in a different order, and the only answer that shows that is p plus q equals q plus p. Next, which equation shows the identity property of addition? Well, an identity property doesn't want to change our input, so a plus 0 equals a keeps a the same. Next, which equation shows the identity property of multiplication? Well, once again, we want to keep our input the same, so we want to multiply by 1. So 1 times a equals a keeps a the exact same. Next, which property of multiplication is shown? If we have t times v plus u times v, we notice that they're both being multiplied by v. And if we look at the right side of the equation, we see that t plus u is being multiplied by v. That implies that we distributed the v to both the t and the u, so that must be the distributive property. If this seemed tricky at first, you just have to realize that they swapped the left side and the right side of the equation. Next, what value of q makes this multiplication sentence true? Hint, use properties of multiplication. Okay, so first we have 1 times q, and due to the identity property, that's just q. Then once you realize that the only operation we're using is multiplication, due to the associative property of multiplication, we can ignore the parentheses altogether. Now we just need to see which number is missing from the left side of the equation. Well, we have a 650 on both sides, we have a 659.8 on both sides, so the only missing number is 869.5, so that must be what q is. Well, that's all I've got for this lesson. If you want to see more content just like this, check out the Algebra 1 IXL playlist right here. This is Mr. Leo with Epic Math. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.